Today at Speedy's Garage we're going to be installing the SRT front chin spoiler and belly pan with brake ducts on Project Orange Crush. Project Orange Crush is a RT Challenger, so it just has the standard front chin spoiler without the brake ducts. The SRT version is a little bit more sporty, and the added cooling to the front brakes definitely can't hurt. To make this modification you're going to need two Mopar parts. The first one is the splash shield, which has the brake ducts attached, and that is Mopar part number 5030943 Alpha Alpha. And then you're going to need the actual chin spoiler itself, and that's Mopar part number 68043390AA. The tools you're going to need are a jack and some jack stands, since we're going to have to remove the front tires to get to all the little plastic fasteners. You'll need a, I'm going to use an impact to take the tires off, but you can use just a standard 1/2 inch ratchet with a 19mm socket. I'm going to use some dash pry tools, ratchet with some small, I'm not exactly sure the exact sizes yet, I know 10mm, and I think we're going to need a 5mm as well, socket. And then you're going to need got this from Harbor Freight, it's a plastic rivet gun. They're cheap, they come with the rivets that you're going to need. These are 5mm. You're going to need some of those to put the splash shield back in, and then a torque wrench to tighten your lug nuts back down. So now I've got the car supported on jack stands and the front wheels removed. Never work on a car or work underneath a car with it resting on a jack. The jack could fail and the car could crush you, so always use jack stands. Since my car's lowered, I had to put some pieces of wood underneath the front tires, drive up on those so that I could get the jack underneath the car to actually raise it high enough to get the jack stands underneath. So that's why those are there. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the factory pieces so we can replace them with the SRT parts. Now under the car, we're going to remove these 4 10mm bolts, one on each corner, hold the splash shields on. And then we've got 6 or 7 of these little 7mm bolts that have to come off, and then 2 pop pins. Now we're going to have 3 more pop pins on each side. We'll take those out. And they'll come in out in 2 pieces, but it's okay, they're not broken. Just put them back together. Next we're going to pop out these push pins, and they're in there pretty tight, so try not to break them, but if you do, you can pick up some replacements at like AutoZone or O'Reilly's. But you're going to pop those out. There's a rivet that holds this on. There's actually 2, but you can take the bottom one out, and you can use like some needle nose or something to clip the back side of it behind, and this will move out of the way, and there's a Phillips head screw that goes through here, and you have to take that out. So with those push pins and that rivet out of the way, just very gently move this side splitter to the side, and you can see the Phillips head screw you got to take out. Now you just need to follow around the inside of that chin spoiler and remove those 7mm bolts. Some of them are hard to get to, so just take your time. Okay, I've got the RT chin spoiler off. I'm ready to put the SRT chin spoiler on. It's a little bit of work getting all those 7mm bolts, but it's not too bad. You will need to take the tabs off as well. Those are kind of the little clips that hold it in place. Your bolt goes through here, and they sit like that, and the spoiler actually comes off from the front. It slides back and down and out, so that's how it will come out. You don't have to remove that plastic reinforcement part right there. It's held in place by all those little plastic rivets, so that doesn't have to come off. And then we're ready to put the SRT piece on. One thing you may need to do is swap over these little metal tabs. There's one on each end, and there's one in the middle. My SRT chin spoiler didn't come with those, so I just took them off my RT spoiler and popped them on. You can choose a flathead screwdriver and just gently lift up on it, and it'll slide off, and then before you put it back on, kind of pinch it so that it's got some tension on it to hold it in place. So now I've got the SRT spoiler mounted. And this front bumper is very flexible, thank goodness. So what you're going to do is there's tabs that I showed you earlier that go through the chin spoiler, and then those little clips pinch on the back side to hold it in place. So what you have to do is kind of pull this forward and slide the chin spoiler up and around it, and it'll just lock into place. It was actually really easy, but you don't want to pull too hard on this and cause it to crack or anything, but it's really flexible, so you can even see I can still move it. So just be easy with it and take your time, and it should go on just fine. Now we have to put all those little 7mm bolts back in behind here, and that's going to be a kind of a pain, but we're almost done. So reinstalling the SRT chin spoiler is just the opposite of removing the RT one. Put your little metal clips on the tabs that use those. You've got 1, 2, this one's a really hard one to get to, 3, I don't know if you can see that, 4, right there in the middle, 5, 6, another hard one, 7, 8, and 9. And then of course, don't forget about your push pins and your screw that holds it over here, and you've got that rivet to deal with as well. Okay, I got the screw back in place. Now we need to install our rivet. That's what they look like before they're used. And basically, the way it works is it just slides in the end of the tool, and then you squeeze the handle and it pulls and tightens that up, and then the end breaks off. There's a little slot in the end, and it'll just snap off. That's all you do. Actually goes down here. Plug it in like that. Make it snug, make sure everything's nice and tight. Put your tool on it, squeeze the handle, and it'll snap off and you'll be done. So that's what it looks like after it's put back in place. I couldn't hold the camera and use the tool and hold the splash shield out of the way all at the same time, so it's pretty easy though. You shouldn't have any trouble. And then you just line this back up and pop your push pins back in. Make sure you keep it nice and snug. There's 1, and let's do 2 and 3. Then we'll put the belly pan on. Next, you'll have to muscle the belly pan on the car. Make sure your drain hose comes through. Make sure that it goes over the splash shield and the wheel well. Make sure it goes over the reinforce bar, or whatever you want to call it. There's a plastic reinforcing mechanism behind the lower part of the chin spoiler. So make sure that it's your chin spoiler connected directly to the splash shield. I tried it both ways to be sure, and this is the correct way to do it. The other way, if you make the little plastic reinforcing bar go between these two, it doesn't fit together properly. So this is the correct way to do it. Put your 7mm bolts in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those. And then we're going to come back at the end and put our plastic pins in up here. We've got plastic tabs that'll plug into here, and then we'll put on our splash shield. Next thing you're going to do is go ahead and put your push pins back in. There's 1, 2, 3. Finally, just reinstall your splash shield. I'm not going to be able to show it to you because it's so hard to be underneath the car. But you'll use these 4 10mm washers and bolts. They're connected. And reinstall your splash shield and you'll be good to go. Okay, I want to show you the splash shield installed, or the belly pan, however you want to call it. Notice that it goes under the front belly pan, the one with the ducts in it. It goes under that. Then you got your 1, 2, 3, 4 10mm bolts. Hold it in place. And as you can see, those brake ducts actually do direct air right at the brakes. You can see it right back there. There's the caliper. Well, there's the finished product. Don't forget to torque your wheel lug nuts to 110 foot-pounds. This is really more of a cosmetic upgrade than anything. I mean, the brake cooling ducts are pretty cool, and the chin spoiler is a little bit bigger than the RT. It's about a 1/2 inch longer, and it has a more squared off edge on it. May provide a little bit more downforce on the front of the car at speed. Unless you can get this for a good deal or something from your dealer or online, I wouldn't bother with the upgrade. My local dealer gives us a discount because I'm part of a local Mopar club, so I got that pretty good price. And also, I had recently curbed my stock RT belly pan. You can see there, the car's lowered, so sometimes that happens. I'm going to have to be much more careful about how I park. A lot of people probably wouldn't worry about that because it's under the car, but I'm anal as can be and I just couldn't stand it. So I had to replace this piece anyway. So rather than just replacing it with the stock RT part, I decided to upgrade to the SRT belly pan and chin spoiler while I was at it. The installation is actually very easy. It's just a little bit tedious. If you take your time, plan on about 2 hours, but it's not hard at all. You can find more information about Project Orange Crush at my website, www.speedysgarage.net.